The losing streak is over, but the Marlins, they lose another series, this time to the Colorado Rockies. Not good for the fish. Are they still buyers? Could they be sellers? There's only a few games to go before they have to make those decisions. Going to dig into all of the potential strategy here with the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England. Welcome to Locked On Marlins. This, of course, is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, on X at Miami Marlins _UK. Yeah, that feels new. Anyway, this, of course, is your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen today. It's an off day as well. It's an off day episode, guys. So no baseball to watch, just Locked On Marlins to listen to or watch as well. If you do want to watch, head on over to YouTube. Hit subscribe there also, and you will see if you are watching. Sean Barrett, the UK GOAT, is in the house and looking fresh. How are we doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Pete. Well, I say that every time, and after 8 losses, I'm not quite sure I am, but we'll see what happens over the length of this podcast, I guess.
We will. It's been a funny period. Not that funny. Just painful period for the fish. They tried to find a way to go 3 sweeps in a row in terms of losses. They somehow managed to overcome that against a putrid Rockies team. Sean, overall assessment of that Rockies series, a 2-1 series loss, including an AJ Puk blown save, a Tanner Scott blow up in the 9th. Offense pretty cold. In the end, though, Luis Arias did walk it off, so they left feeling good. But overall assessment from that Rocky series?
I think it was just a repeat or continuation then of the last time we spoke about how the Marlins, their starting pitching was starting to sort of creak a little bit and they were struggling for innings, and that was costing them games. And now it's the bullpen. Like those innings in the first half have really started to sort of come home, and that realization that maybe the Marlins pitching depth in both aspects isn't quite there. And this all speaks towards what the Marlins need to do at the deadline if they are to be buyers. And we've seen the holes, and we've talked about the holes for, it feels like for a few weeks, months now, where we've been sort of like this team slowly getting closer to being in contention, and the trade deadlines come in. We spoke in the pre-season about the idea of like get to here right now at 500, buy, and let's see what happens. And lo and behold, after months and months of baseball, we are here, and that's right where they are.
Yeah. They are right now 7 games over 500. We're recording this on a Monday evening, and right now, whilst they're 7 games over, they're also in the wild card 3 spot exactly, joint with the Phillies and the Giants. So they're right where we wanted them to be. I know that they've had a bit of a tough run after the All-Star break, but overall, if we were to start the year, and we did start the year talking about be at 500, and there's teams that are kind of just under 500 that also may still be buying at this point. You know, the Padres are 4 games under 500. Are they still buyers? The Cubs, 3 games under 500. The Marlins, 7 games over 500. They are buyers still, though, Sean, right?
In my mind, they are. I think it's interesting. If you'd asked me 9 games ago at the All-Star break how invested they should be, I think I even said, push all your chips in. There's not a single person in the minors that isn't tradable. Do the Marlins now look at a guy like Ida and say everybody but, because they're not quite so sure after that 8-game losing streak and obviously the tough schedule they've got ahead? But for me, I mean, it is a case of we're here. We're right where we need to be. Let's just continue. Those 8 games, nothing can be done about that now.
Yeah.
The Marlins need to continue to put the gas on and try and get a playoff berth. It's something that I know the shortened season was lovely, but a full season where no one can take it away from you as a fluke.
Mm.
The Marlins, they need to do this for the fans. I know I'm quite negative in that sense of this is a business and they don't actually really care and they don't need the fans' money because the way that baseball's constituted, you make plenty of money anyway. But for the fans, that's where I'm at. I'm still hoping they buy because there are fans out there that deserve it.
Do you think this 9-game stretch, including a walk-off win against the Rockies, as I have to call out, but they didn't play well in that game either, with AJ Puk giving up another home run. Do you think this stretch after the All-Star break has adjusted their thinking at all in terms of, to your point, I think this is where you're leaning to, is like how invested do they get at this deadline? And because they're now not 5 games ahead of, the chasing pack for this, they're feeling a little bit more insecure perhaps about their wildcard aspirations. Does it change the strategy, or does it even heighten the strategy? Does it even just heighten the need to say, actually, we were going to go all in because we really have a chance. Now we really need to go all in to stay having a chance, or do we just let this season just fade away? Do you think anything's going to be changing here for Kim, the front office, or is it they're just going to be making the same deals irrespective?
I think it's bizarre to say, there's still a little bit of time. I think if the Marlins win, go above 500 in these remaining games before the deadline, that might make a difference. And it'll be interesting to see how the market evolves. Because as you said, there are teams that are 3, 4, 5 games below 500 who still probably think they're in the mix and have an opportunity, or the way that their minus league setup is, if they've got some pieces that they want to burn through and make a push. So for me, I think the Marlins will still be buyers. I'll be interested to see how deep they go in. But we've already discussed the idea that there are smaller level pieces. Like the Marlins aren't going to go and get Ohtani. They were never going to get Ohtani. We talked about some of the higher level starting pitchers that are available at the moment at the deadline. Maybe they don't go all in on one of those guys and take a couple of moderate. Marlins need innings. Like I'd rather see the Marlins get 2 mid-tier upcoming free agents rather than go for one of the big names, because those extra double amount of innings is what the Marlins actually do really need.
Yeah, and you still think that's their biggest priority? I mean, we're going to talk about the pen after the ad, but do you still is a starting pitcher that can give you consistent length? Let's just describe it like that. Consistent length of 3-4 run ball. Is that still the main priority at this point, considering the age, the innings that is currently sat in the rotation and at Double-A? We'll speak about him as well at some stage.
Yeah, I think bringing in a guy that's going to give you 60 more innings, ideally 2, and get those 120 innings.
Yeah,
we've discussed to death the idea that Luzardo is going to blow through his innings this year above. He's where he is at his max previously at 100, like 160, 180. That's just straight up asking for trouble. The same with Edward Cabrera. Garrett's got more innings, but I think we're already starting to see like that tiredness, that the wheels are starting to come off a little bit. Sandy, like for as much as he struggled, I still expect him to throw 200 innings, and that absolutely has a value. The Marlins need depth of innings. They do need bullpen help, and I would like to see an upgrade here and there in the lineup as well. So all of a sudden, I'm spending a lot of that capital anyway. Again, aren't I? I'm still all in on this season.
To me, Sean, you've just acquired 4 guys there at the deadline: 2 starters and 2 bullpen pieces. No bats, interestingly, which is kind of a weird situation. I think I spoke about it a few weeks back, even maybe a month ago. Just how disappointing it feels that the Marlins at this point, having had the start they've had and have the various assets that they do in the organization, that their main need is to go and get a starter. it's some level of it's just unfortunate with some guys. You know, it's just a little bit disheartening. We've always been speaking about let's develop these arms, trade them for some sticks. Now we've got to try and find a way to move the only healthy arms that are there that aren't pitching at the majors or are soon to be back to go and get some arms to stick and give a sticking plaster on this rotation to help this year going. But Sean, listen, it has to be done. Like the needs are obvious, the pen's creaking, and it all stems from they need the starters to deliver length, mate. And so that has to be P1 here for Kim Ang.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we can say in the spring or in the off season, Marlins got arms for days, but that never lasts. It almost sounds foolish to keep doing this every spring, but we'll do it again next spring. I'm sure. Yeah, 100%. You got to fill these episodes. But no, baseball is a sport of attrition, and there's not a single Major League Baseball team that go through a whole season with their starting 5 rotation pitching 30 games. It just does not happen. It's mathematically impossible. So yeah, the Marlins do still need ideally 2 guys, and not attempting to segue us over, but Cueto's return has absolutely helped that situation.
Really has.
In my mind.
You have segued us perfectly. Before we get there, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at Sleeper. But after the ad, we will be talking about Johnny Cueto. I also want to talk to you about Jesus Luzardo. You've already mentioned him as well. What stuck out for me yesterday, career day for Luzardo on a few areas, strikeouts, also innings, number of pitches thrown. So yes, he was allowed to continue, and we all applaud that situation. We all get excited about that. But there's another element to that I did want to talk to you about as well, leading into the bullpen from yesterday's game. But before we do that, as I mentioned, this episode, if you're watching, you'll see the graphics are up. It's our good friends over at Sleeper. And if you want the chance to win more money with less picks, head to Sleeper, where you can win up to 100 times your money on just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. Yes, sir. They're offering up to 100 times payout for up to 8 pick contests. Choose as many as 8 players that you like and pick more or less on your favorite baseball stats like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win big time. Big time. Off day today for the Marlins. So thinking ahead to Tuesday, Glasnow's going for the Rays. That's going to be tough. Going to be tough for the Fish. Glasnow always seems to pitch well against the Marlins. I do wonder if Jesus Sanchez is due a bomb in this series, and maybe against Glasnow. That would be absolutely glorious. It's going to be a tough ask for the Marlins in the Trop, of course. But if you want to get in on the action, then here's the promo code. Got to use the promo code. It's locked on, and you'll get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. They are currently operational in over 30 states, and you can check out Sleeper today. All right, guys, welcome back here. It's Sean Barrett, Peter Pratt hitting it up on Locked On Marlins on Monday, the 24th of July. It's time to talk the rotation, Sean. We've got Cueto in caps. That's how good of an outing it was. Johnny Cueto, I don't know what was happening in this rehab assignment. It was the ultimate I don't care rehab. It was a spring training situation. Cueto is just straight up trolling everyone and comes out and twirls that gem after a scoreless outing out of the bullpen. I was losing my mind thinking the Marlins were going to go for some sort of bullpen game exactly when they didn't need it. They turned to Johnny Cueto. Skip Schumaker's asking everything from Johnny Cueto. Sean, is this the biggest surprise of the year that Johnny Cueto delivered what he did against the Colorado Rockies?
To a certain degree, yes, but then there were other factors. I mean, Hoeing in particular, like how on earth did we expect that to happen? But no, Cueto, we'd left him for dead, hadn't we? We
Absolutely.
genuinely, we were talking about just DFAing him, like you've just wasted best part of $10 million, but we don't care, get rid of him. Even at the point when the Marlins we knew needed innings. But yeah, you say it's a troll job, and to a certain degree, maybe it's weird, isn't it? Like Cueto's been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. He's a 37-year-old pitcher who's played for multiple franchises, pitched for years, earned over $150 million. How invested do you think he would be in going out there on a AA field in front of, well, to be fair, it's not going to be in front of many more people at Lone Depot Park, is it really? But
whoa.
ultimately, it is a case of how hyped could he really be to go out there and pitch in the minors? And if you don't turn up, you get lit up. But for me, the start was, the stuff was for the limited expectations pretty good.
Yeah. Did it help that the limitations were set so low, the bar was so low? Is this one of those where in our heads there's been some sort of David Blaine trick played here, where we had the bar set so low with Cueto and it was against the Colorado Rockies, and all of a sudden you end up with a line which was 6+, 2 hits, 1 earned, just a single walk, and 8 Ks. I mean, this is some voodoo magic here from Johnny Cueto, but I know the Marlins didn't end up winning the game, which was disappointing in itself. They ended up blowing the game, which was disappointing. Chargois came in and gave up a home run there, 3-run blast, unfortunately. But, for Cueto to deliver that when needed, I mean, it was huge. Also, though, Sean, let's look ahead. Next time out for Cueto, like, he's slotted in to start now. There's no ifs, no buts. All of a sudden, the Marlins, they have a 5-man rotation again. Eddie Cabrera's back. Cueto looks like he's back, and Cueto's going against the Detroit Tigers next out. So, in a time of need, this is the best opportunity for Johnny Cueto to deliver meaningful innings, I think. Like, he's found a little soft landing zone, and all of a sudden, he has the ability to excel maybe, and the Marlins can get 3, 4, 5 starts out of Cueto, like 5, 6 innings. Like, from where we were, this would be a big fat dub, I think. What about you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if the Marlins can get 40 to 60 innings, exactly what you'd be trading for out of Cueto.
Yeah.
Even before we saw him pitch, we talked about 4.5 ERA over 20, 25 starts.
Yep.
We'll take that.
Yeah,
I will take that abbreviated version of that now for the rest of the season. And I had a busy weekend, but I've gone back and watched the game. Cueto's stuff looked okay, like 94, which for a guy that's not known for his velo now is not too shabby.
No.
Movement on it looked good. Control looked good on it. First pitch strikes to pretty much every batter. He looked good, albeit against the Rockies. But like you said, this is a soft landing for him. If he can give the Marlins 5, 6 innings for the rest of the season at relatively good sort of level of ERA, then he might not quite have earned that 8.5 that the Marlins are paying for him, but he'll get awfully close if the Marlins make the playoffs. Not off the back of him doing that, but helping that situation would certainly make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his next start, I mentioned the Tigers. That'll be his next start, his last start, in effect, before the trade deadline. The one after that, then, will be against the Phillies, who'll be coming into town for a 4-game series. So, it's going to be interesting. The other interesting fact as well is, like, kind of what happens if Cueto gets absolutely destroyed against the Tigers. Like, all of a sudden, the bar has risen now with Cueto, and we're kind of going, okay, so we're looking for 6 innings of 1-run ball. Next thing is, what happens if it's, he can't get out the second inning for whatever reason, he's blown up. Like, the decision kind of comes back around. The Marlins, for the rest of this year, in some ways, or at least before the deadline, that's why it's interesting for the next start, they will have this recurring decision to make around Johnny Cueto, because if there's a blow-up and it looks like he's not usable anymore, then they've got a call to make. So it's one to watch. It's definitely one to watch against the Tigers. I said it was a must-sweep series against the Rockies, and it felt like it was. It's disappointing, but the one thing for the Marlins that's gone in their favor when they've got ice cold, the coldest of any club, all the other clubs around them have had a similar fate. The Phillies are cold. The Giants are cold. The Diamondbacks are cold. The Reds have started a trend after having a cold spell as well. Everyone's having cold stretches. So what I'd say to everyone listening here is, let's not panic. Let's not panic. The needs are clear. This club has shown it can win close games all year. The needs are clear. Let's fix this rotation, give themselves a little bit more depth, and I think the byproduct will be the bullpen can get itself back in gear too. I think right now Skip's he's running out of arms. Those guys are running out of innings, and he's running out of trust. And we're going to talk about that shortly as well, about the closing situation, because we saw for the first time this year, Sean, a slight wrinkle appear in that spot. But I just wanted to go back and talk about Jesus Luzardo. Again, you've mentioned his innings, and he ended up having a career high in pitches in that game again against the Rockies and their offense without CJ Crone and Chris Bryant. They had nothing out there, and they were leaning into Luzardo so heavily, asking him to go 115 pitches. Like, to me, that's a sign that Skip is that concerned about his pen that he's having to take the training wheels off. He's having to take the wheels off Luzardo. Skip's been babying all of the starters all year, apart from Sandy, and then he was even, quick hooked as well for a period. We're now seeing Skip Schumaker just saying, listen, this is needs must now. We're in needs must situation with these starters. Luzardo 115 for me was a shock. But to follow up on that, Tanner Scott walked out in the 8th inning, having just thrown 33 pitches or 32 pitches the day before. I was tweeting saying, Tanner Scott's going to be down. He's going to be unavailable. How are they going to solve these leverage innings? Tanner Scott strolls out there. It absolutely stunned me. That was must-win playoff almost managing from Skip Schumaker on a Sunday game against the Colorado Rockies. That's how badly he wanted to snap that skid. Wild scenes, mate. I mean, how do you kind of analyze that decision making?
I think it is a case. We see it in the beginning of the season. Like, there were a lot of relievers going again and again and again, like super amount of innings, like projected to pitch 100 innings, and lo and behold, we're starting to lose a couple of them through injury and ineffectiveness.
Yeah.
And you're right with Luzardo. Like, not only the 115, like the 7th inning was a little bit loose with the walk and the wild pitch. And it got a bit dangerous. But for me, the main concern is he's at 120 now. He threw 100 the season before. That was his max. If he's going to get rolled out every 5 days for the rest of the season, he's getting to 180. He's getting maybe to 190, 200.
Yep.
That's doubling he's 25. That is still young for a starting pitcher. Yeah. That's so dangerous, and it has me concerned. And there are managers in the history of baseball that have been known to be pretty egregious with their bullpen usage. And Skip in the early days, maybe just through desperation, maybe through wanting to try and show something in his first year, or maybe it's just a lack of options. So far, Skip has used the bullpen and is using young arms in the rotation past the area where I feel comfortable. And this is why, for me, the Marlins have to be buyers at the deadline if they are going to want to compete, because this is a situation that now starts to become a concern for the future.
Yeah,
with these young arms and the bullpen pieces to a lesser degree, because bullpen fluctuations occur. The Marlins can't keep doing what they're doing and throwing these young arms out there. So for me to see him go the 7th, I get it. You're trying to snap a skid of 7 or 8 losses. Like, you're going out there trying to win a game. But I do have my worries.
For me, it was... And listen, I'm not saying... I watched the game and I got as excited. It was Sandy-like when Skip strolls out there. They have the conversation and Skip strolls back and says, "No, you take it. You take it." And we got out of it. And that was exciting. But equally, I looked up, I went, wow, 115, that is a lot. And to your point, like, what's being asked of Jesus Luzardo out of desperation? Like, they have to do this right now because they've already had to do they've had to go and park Yuri Perez down in AAA. In AA. And he's not even throwing really. Bullpens, but no innings, which in some ways makes sense. But Braxton Garrett's showing signs too. He's approaching, I guess maybe career highs. Eddie Cabrera's been out for a while. He's not got any huge career highs either. Like, there's just, apart from Sandy, there's such little history of going, beyond 100 really. And that's what's going to be necessary here, I think. So, boy, oh boy, that was some wild situation. Let's finish up real briefly though, Sean, because I think we could carry on this topic. But I did want to talk about the closing situation. AJ Puk, obviously in yesterday's game, gave up the home run. He's been giving up home runs pretty regularly in recent times. Another blown save there for AJ Puk. On the Saturday game, AJ Puk came and worked the real clean 8th, actually. Then Tanner Scott got the 9th. Skip Schumaker spoke after the game around that, saying, we just liked the pockets. That's the language he's using. We liked the pocket of hitters, the pockets, and we liked Scott against their 3-4-5, and we thought we'd flip it around. Still see AJ Puk as the closer. Tanner Scott, no doubt, has been immense in the role he has. But this feels to me exactly like Anthony Bass from last year. Just leave him in the role. He is very good in the role. We've seen enough of Tanner Scott in the 9th to know what that looks like. And we saw it again this time. What happened in the 9th? There was a hit by pitch, I think a walk or something. Like, next thing is you're like, oh boy, here we go again. So where's your head at here with this AJ Puk, Tanner Scott situation? Are you sticking with Puk in the 9th? Or do they need to go and find someone else for the 9th at this point?
I think it is a case of, like, you trust your manager, like you said with Scott. Like, you can look at his season numbers and go, maybe they should be giving him an opportunity now that Puk has shown some struggles. But if he feels comfortable in the setup role, that's where you pitch him. And yeah, like I said, if the Marlins are going for the playoffs and everything they've done in bringing up Erie quickly, keeping him in that rotation, pushing that number, pushing this huge storyline by keeping him in the rotation. Luzardo is a perfect example. They're using him excessively. Marlins clearly are showing themselves to be all in as far as wanting to win this season. Yeah. So for me, you need to go out and buy a guy. You need to go and get yourself a legitimate closer or reliever with closer experience, a guy that isn't just a good pitcher for the 7th or the 8th. He's a good pitcher that can stomach the pressure of being a closer. Because right now, Puk, we spoke about Segura at third base. Can Kim trust her job on Segura? And that was an obvious no. At this point, can she trust her job on AJ Puk in the closer role? Right now, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's so tricky. I still believe that the Puk. Yeah, I spoke about it, I think, maybe last week. I'd love for them to have the righty in there. And I think this links down to Andrew Nardi. And, Andrew Nardi's on the IL. We thought that was just going to be a little breather, but now that seems to be a prolonged period. And Dylan Floro, just like, he started the year so well, Floro, and we're speaking about it, saying, great, they've got Floro that's got experience. Tanner Scott, they've got AJ Puk now. They've got Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes done for the year. Floro, I don't know what's happened to him, but he has heavily regressed to a point where, a leverage inning that was popping up a few days ago, Cueto was warming up, a leverage inning as well the other day. Brazaban seems to have kind of leapfrogged Dylan Floro right now. So, man, oh man, I don't know what's happened to him, but he is, by the numbers anyway, it's gone so heavily backwards. Did see something earlier saying that they think Dylan Floro is the most unlucky Marlins reliever, I think, of all time. I saw someone had downloaded all the stats and the variance between ERA and FIP and however you analyze it. It's a wide variance. So maybe there is, not maybe, but it feels like there is some bad luck in there with Floro. But to me, they badly need a righty arm that can sandwich in between Scott and Puk. For me, that's how I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Scott in the 7th. I'd like to see a righty in the 8th, and I'd like to see Puk in the 9th. Like, that feels like a nice balance. And right now, it's Kurt, it's Scott, it's Puk. Lefty, lefty, lefty. After facing Jesus Luzardo all game as well. You've had a full game facing lefties, and your eyes adjust. they just kind of adjust. And we're seeing that with Puk. I think Puk's kind of getting unlucky too. But looks like Puk remains the closer. Tanner Scott didn't lock it down in the ninth. Like, he came out in the ninth and it didn't work either. So a lot of decisions here, but this comes down to we needed pen help, and it's been obvious for some time. And I saw the Braves today, mate, made a couple of moves to address their pen. So I know the elite guys aren't available, but there is help out there if the Marlins seek it. And again, that's one for me, a topic that I've been surprised that they haven't gone to that well earlier and just tried to find not warm bodies, but like relatively capable guys that aren't ultra high leverage. That's been a big surprise for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you use the phrase warm bodies. At this point, that's what the Marlins need. They've used so many of the bullets of these relievers that you can't expect a guy to have elite performance in his 50, 60, 70, 80th inning of work through the season. Just doesn't happen. And relievers are, unfortunately, disposable. They are the running back of baseball. And the Marlins at this point are trotting out guys that have been overused. So, yes, I'd like to see them get an elite pitcher for the ninth, or a setup man. But ultimately, all they need is they need to add something. Yeah. As you said, you've been on the train of they need to do something early. I'm at the point now that they've missed that opportunity. They need to do it often. They need multiple additions if they want to push for the playoffs. And as I said, that is what they've shown that they want to do. So Kim's going to be very busy over the next 4, 5, 6 days for sure.
Absolutely. Great points to finish it up there from Sean Barrett, the UK GOAT, of course. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be back very early tomorrow because we're about to hit a double episode extravaganza. So when you tune into tomorrow's episode, we may look similar. It may be the same clothing, but it's a double header for us. There's just so much to get into. But overall, the Marlins are still buyers at this deadline. I think irrespective of what happens in the next 2 series, they're still buyers. All the signals remain that they are all in. And to Sean's point as well, they need to go in often. They need to double, triple, quadruple dip, it feels, with arms, bullpen, and starters. It's going to be so busy for Kim, no doubt about it. And we haven't even talked about the offense and how they can upgrade the offense, because the pitching is in that much disarray right now, particularly the bullpen. I would say that has to be the focus. Guys, thanks for joining us on Monday. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, looking pretty similar. Look forward to seeing you then.